things that might be handy for this. Maybe not all these things are necessary, but this here, not sure the exact name for it, but it's kind of a ring vise. You can take your ring and put it in here, and then you put this little wedge in this side, and you can hold your ring pretty steady, which would make it handy to work on, especially when you're using a tool. You can keep the tool away from your finger. As you see, I've poked a couple holes in my finger working on these different little projects. Now, as I said, this once had a stone in it, and so maybe it's hard to tell with the camera, but this edge is probably rolled in a little bit where the stone was in there. Probably not a lot, but one of the things you want to do is make sure that this is out. And one of the ways you can do it is you can use a varnishing tool. I have several of them. I've just brought out a couple. This is the one I like to use most of the time when I'm making a ring. It's fairly straight, and it has a little curve on the tip. Most all of them will have a bit of a curve right here on the tip where you are actually moving the metal to fit over the stone. But in this case, we're going to actually try and pull the metal back out a bit. And we just do that by pushing. You can already see that shiny part of the silver right there. That's where part of the metal is actually moving back out. So we'll work on this for a while and then come back and look at it and talk about the next step of repurposing this ring. All right, one thing I noticed on this ring is part of you can see right there, this piece is bent in a little bit much. And one thing you could do, if the varnishing tool is not doing moving the metal enough, you could actually take some rounded pliers and you could bend it out ever so slightly to get it back into shape. And a little bit goes a long way. All right, today's project, we're going to mostly use the Dremel and hand tools for the whole thing. So I probably should have said that in the beginning, but this is a good opportunity to use. This is a basic Dremel I've had for many, many years. Hopefully won't fall apart. But we could use a sanding disc and get into our ring a little bit and clean it. We could just polish it with a little polishing compound and a little wheel here. Today I'm going to use this little grinding stone here. You can buy variety packs quite readily. They're sold by the Dremel company. Here's one I got from Ace. You can see there's all kinds of little diamond bits and sanding and grits and drills and brushes that can be very handy. You want a big selection, and then when you find out the ones that you use a lot, you'll be wanting to buy those in bulk. That's probably where I need to be with these ones because they do fly apart at some point. So unfortunately, my little ring anvil broke. I'll have to work on a fix for that or buy a new one. I actually got an idea to fix it, but that's another topic, another day. So let's try and, oh, by the way, always wear your safety goggles and dust and stuff. You want to wear a mask. So this one's pretty good. It looks like it fits in there. I'm just going in there lightly, and you can see already that is looking very good. All right, the next step would be to mark our gemstone, and I have some nice scribes. You can buy scribes from some of the lapidary supply sites. One is usually made out of brass, and the other is usually made out of aluminum. You can also use a nail. Sometimes that will work. I've used the tip of a file. You can use maybe a dental tool like what you can get at Harbor Freight. You can use a pen or a pencil. That also can work. Let's see. I couldn't find my actual scribes. I looked for them for a little bit, but they're just not showing up. So what I want for this ring is I want one of these beautiful bitrudal orbs to be on the top of this ring. So there's a couple of them here that I've eyeballed. This one looks pretty good, and it's right toward the edge. So I could just trace that out around here with this scribe. See how this works. Yeah, exactly perfect. Okay, so it looks like we've got a little scribe mark on there. Basically, I'm just going to be cutting this orb out right here. Get that in the camera a little bit better. Going to cut this orb out right here. There is some little scratches on there that I can see. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to cut this out with a diamond wheel, maybe this one, maybe a smaller one, and we will cut that little orb out. All right, we're going to go with this little one here because I couldn't find well, I didn't look very hard, but I couldn't find the tool where this bigger one would anchor onto. There's a special bit where it clips into. So this is already available to me. So let's go ahead and see what we can do to cut this out. You'll want to wear a mask, your glasses, maybe a little water. Wouldn't hurt if this is not frozen solid. There we go. Got a little bit of water there. And we shall proceed. All right. So we've got that little orb cut out of there just right. Looks good for the ring. I don't think we'll have too much problem. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of shaping. Okay, fits pretty good on that side. I just need to take a little bit more off of there, about a 30-second or so. So I just keep working with it until we get it to fit. Okay, it's actually starting to fit into the ring. So we're getting very, very close. The bottom is right about where I want it to be. So I will probably do some hand sanding around the bottom. And now that I've got the bottom where I want it, I'm going to start rounding off this top section. All right, starting to get a little bit of a more of a dome on it. You see? Getting closer. Getting closer. Now I'm going to get some sandpaper and work it a little more. It's almost there. All right, I think we just about got it to fit pretty good here. It's pretty close, not quite on the bottom right there, but wet sandpaper here, but I'll round it off a little bit while I'm working on it. This is a slow way to do it, but certainly can be done this way. All right, and when you want to pop this out, just take a piece of wood in the back and push it up against something where it doesn't, where it's not going to break. There, pops right out. Or if you really got to dig, you can use a dental tool sometimes. You got to be careful not to chip your stone if your stone isn't really super hard. But you can also pick it out with that. When it's especially agate, it works pretty good. A little dental tool works good for picking it out if it's a little tight and you don't have a spot in the back of the ring. The other thing you can do is drill a little hole in the back of the ring so you can always push it out with a pin or a paper clip or something. All right, I'm getting pretty happy with where it's at right now. And probably it's not quite sitting in there all the way right there, so I got to take a little bit more, and then we'll be ready to brandish it into the bezel there. So this is just a sanding block that I was using. Since this is a kind of a calcium based azurite, it's pretty soft to work with, even though I did put some hardener on it. And just using this wet sandpaper for like what you would finish a car if you're painting. So it's very fine, probably like 1,000, 1,200. And just polishing it and getting some of the little flat spots off from previous. It is kind of time consuming. I've spent, you know, good amount of time on it. You'll need a couple hours to do something like this. Calcite type material. will sand by hand pretty quickly. Had this been agate or something, this would be much, much, much more time consuming. I just wanted to show you that you could do this by hand. So I have it completely bottomed on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and brandish it. Now you can take this all out and dry it and put epoxy in the bottom a little bit, or I could even put some in afterwards. But I think it's going to hold. So you just basically take this tool here and start forming the metal around little by little, just by turning. You want to make sure you don't break your stone. This is a process that takes a while, and I may have to, it looks like I did scratch the stone a little bit. I may have to touch that up. But you can see the metal is actually moving right in there. So it's going back around the cabezon. And that little flat spot that was on the stone is kind of showing up. So there's some things we can do to try to just push it around a little smoother. I'm going to go ahead and do a little polishing here. Just get the wet, Dremel wet, and I've got some white tin oxide. It's just a white powder here, pretty messy. But this should not stain my stone. That's why I don't want to use iron oxide. Hopefully this will keep filming. Alright, I think it's pretty good. So there you have it. I mean, we could still do some more cleaning, but that's looking pretty good. I think we got a winner there. Pretty cool. Everything worked out pretty good. Little bit of a flat spot on the top of the stone, but you know, you could work that out more or whatever, but I think it's pretty much done. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit more, and there you go. Repurposing a ring with a bitoroidal orb of azurite on calcium, calcite type material, kind of soft, and stone is in there real good, and I think we're going to call it done. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for checking out Radical Rocks, subscribing, liking, sharing, and remember, rockhounds don't die, they petrify.